Everybody's favorite topic during best ball summer was week 17. Hell, we made a shanty about it, but it's been radio silent on the topic since the season has kicked off. Maybe that has to do with some other things, but we and Erik Beimfohr are going to revisit this. We're going to talk about the importance of week 17. Oh, and you know what? Let's draft the best ball team or two. I need a light up rocket ship behind me, right? Like where my Evil Dead poster is. I kind of want to get a rocket ship, like LED light. I need a ghost one as well, and I'll show you these ones that my friend's wife made for skulls, and they're pretty cool. I'm thinking about commissioning her.
So I haven't looked into the price of that. It's really funny that you bring that up. I'm clearly into like the lights and the shit on the walls. But I want that, whether it says Spike Week or, like you said, it has the rocket or whatever. I've legitimately thought about the neon lights or whatever, like the college bro frat house. What's it? St. Pauli's girl or whatever, like Michael from The Office has.
Yeah.
I've thought about those lights and having one of them made, but all I can think of is, you ever see the movie This Is 40?
Yeah, of course.
When Paul Rudd, they got the huge, gigantic, he starts his own record label and gets the huge light or whatever, and that cost him, like $50,000 or whatever. he pissed away $50,000 of his startup funds on that, and they're going broke, and everybody's giving him a hard time for the light. We're not gonna go, I'm very confident things are going well here or whatever, but I don't want to be that guy where it's like, hey, dummy, maybe best ball's not going as well as you thought, and you spent, $50,000 on a stupid light that says Spike Week. Maybe don't do that.
I'm also a little jealous, by the way, because your light is green, and I wasn't planning to copy you, but that color green behind you is the color that's literally behind me, and it is not coming through on my screen.
Yours looks teal.
It looks teal, but while I'm in the room, it is like green. So
really,
yeah, it's real. Some colors are weird like that, I've noticed for my stuff, but I digress. We're here to talk a bit about best ball, of course, and some week 17 stuff you wanted to go over. And we also have to get through probably some of the injuries this week and what that's going to mean to some of these best ball teams. You hit on it a bit yesterday, but maybe we can revisit a little bit of those. The big one feels like Cooper Kupp, who's causing a ruckus in the fantasy industry right now. Fights are being drawn on Twitter about it. Real quick, not I don't want to make you sweat, but it feels like 2 or 3 times a year, 2 fantasy analysts are getting ready to fight each other, right? And nothing ever transpires. Like nobody ever fights. And then it breaks down to, well, you got to get to this weight and I got to get to this weight and we got to come up with these rules. It's like, bro, like I am not the toughest guy of all time. Like if you want to fight, we're just fighting. Like we're not setting up a, we'll just fight. Whatever. I'm an adult. You're an adult. We can just throw hands. It's not a big deal. So, yeah, it makes me laugh every time there's a fight challenged and nothing ever transpires from it.
Oh, I mean, it's the perfect encapsulation of fantasy football Twitter, right? Is that everybody is a keyboard warrior, and then everybody will still be a keyboard warrior up to a certain point. And then it's caveat season. Well, I need 6 months to train.
Yeah.
Or I need, or whoa, you weigh 50 pounds more than me. Well, maybe you shouldn't pick a fight with the dude who weighs 50 fucking pounds more than you if you didn't want to fight him in the first place.
Right.
It's like, I can be a little confrontational at times. I'm willing to own that. I am also an asshole, full stop, sarcastic, whatever. Some people like it. Some people don't. That's fine. I'm not sticking my nose in anywhere that I'm not willing to the same thing. I'm not some big tough guy. I'm 6 foot 200 pounds kid from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm not like some big tough guy, but like I'm not going I know Evan. This sounds fucking terrible. I don't know how to say this without sound like name dropping. I have met Evan Silva. Evan is a wonderful human being and has helped me in my journey through this industry. If I disagreed with him with something, I'm not saying shit, because that dude is like 6'6", fucking 300 pounds, and he would beat the shit out of me. Like, I have no chance of in a fight against him. And so, like, I don't agree with everything Evan says. He, of course, doesn't agree with everything that I say. He's come on at both of the years that Spike Week's been around. He's come on shows and stuff and done and drafted with me. We don't always agree, but I'm not like like I said, I'm not sticking my nose in there and messing around with Evan, because I know what. But people do that on Twitter, right? It's like, it doesn't. None of that ever makes any sense to me. It's like, you want it, you want the smoke, or you don't want the smoke. Like, if you follow the NBA, like the Memphis Grizzlies, they may never win an NBA championship. They want all the smoke. They don't care. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Giannis, they do not care. They want all the smoke. So they're willing to fight for the things that they're going to talk shit about. And like, that's the total opposite of fantasy football Twitter. Fantasy football Twitter is like, I want all the likes and the retweets and the dopamine from that. And then when the smoke comes, I'm out of here. Yeah.
It just kills me every time. And I don't know. Today was, I mean, I'll say his name. It's the counselor. Like, he starts like up, he gets everybody riled up, which is, I think it's partly a bit, but I also think I just think he's that dude.
He's crazy. Yeah.
But he backed out of the fight immediately. And it's like, you just blew your cover, bro. Like, you just showed who you are. And not that I'm like the most well-known person in this industry or anything that anyone's going to come after me, but like, if you do, we can just fight. Like, it's whatever. We're adults. Let's just do it. There's a parking lot somewhere.
I'm not naming names. I've had a couple of confrontations with a couple people that I, sometimes not everybody gels. You know what I mean? That's how it goes. And same thing. I'm not some big tough guy, but if they want to, like, let's go fight. That's fine. I would not have talked shit to them on the internet in a public forum with billions of people that can see what I'm saying, and my employer. If I wasn't gonna stand up to it, like I said, I'm not gonna do it with somebody who is clearly gonna whoop my ass. So like, it's fine, it is what it is. This is funny. Silas, I think I saw a picture of you at somebody was searching you out for maybe a thumbnail or something at some time, and I did notice that you were short. So I think I have that down.
I am exactly Rob B. Rob B says he's 5'10" and not ripped, and that I am 5'10" and also not ripped. So it is a trait among Robs. We are 5'10" and we are not ripped. That's who we are. So yeah, I mean, look, I've been in fights. I've won some, I've lost some. It's whatever. It's a fucking fight. Who cares?
That's how it goes.
Just don't start it and then back out. Like, that is the biggest candy ass thing I've ever seen in my life. So sorry to like get us off on that little tangent, but it happens like every 3 or 4 months, and then it just becomes like, well, we're gonna get to this weight class, and then you're this weight, and I'm this.
And who's refereeing? Who's refereeing? Is it going to be a fair fight? It's like, would you shut the fuck up? The fair fight is whoever is on their back at the end of and knocked out at the end of the fight.
Yeah, you don't go to a bar. Like, have you ever been in a bar and like seen two people start to throw hands? Like, whoa. You got it. Timeout. We're gonna wait 5 months. You're gonna get down to 175. And then we're going to come back to this bar and we're going to box. We're not going to throw kicks. We're just going to man up. We're going to use 5-ounce gloves. Like, nobody's ever done that. Like, that's not a thing.
This is David. David nails it. I mean, I will say to David's point, I'm not saying that David says this, but you will also see in the replies of stuff, people saying like, what, maybe someone is getting dunked on or whatever, right? And they, which has also been a recent thing, with the whatever that one account is, I forget what it's called. Receipts. Yeah. And I read through a couple of those once upon a time, like the replies and stuff, and it is like brutally toxic. Like, those people that sending those replies are like sick fucked up people. Like I genuinely feel bad for them thinking about what your real life is when you go on the internet to like say that kind of hateful things to someone who gives fantasy football advice.
Yeah.
So like this goes both ways. Though, like when people say fantasy football isn't that deep, no one agrees more than me. Dude, I'm sitting in my basement right now making a career out of having stupid Darius Miles jerseys behind me. We're talking about green lights. We're talking about fighting idiots on Twitter. Like, and this is my job. It's like I know no one appreciates this is not that deep more than me. I assure you. But also there is the flip side to that where people will say, "Oh, it's not that deep, bro." But like, luckily, this hasn't like come to me. I've read some of this stuff on there, and like, it has nothing that none of that has anything to do with fantasy football not being deep. That has to do with like humans are fucking bad. Like there's a lot of garbage out there on social media. So that does go both ways. But to this whole caveat, like the fighting and stuff, oh my God, like come on, man. It is really like, unless someone literally did something, which the couple of times that I've gotten into like true actual arguments, it was like true legit like personal things being said. And I don't really, family, friends, and my dogs. I'm not. That's like I don't give a shit about fantasy football, but I mean, I drafted like 30% of Trey Lance and Kyle Pitts, so clearly I don't care about fantasy football. But like my family and stuff, I care about that. So let's move on to the fun subjects. This is an interesting comment that I didn't expect this early in the show.
Yeah, like it threw me off. It's Quez Watkins week in DFS.
I like it.
Did I miss something on an Eagles player that just got announced?
Dallas Goedert is out.
Oh yeah, Dallas Goedert, of course.
So if that's kind of interesting. This is a fairly not for Quez Watkins necessarily, but a fairly interesting segue into both the injuries and the league winner playoff week 17 conversation that we're trying to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So let's just start with Cooper Kupp. It really sucks. I was underweight on Kupp because I was drafting, Jamar Chase over him. So of those top 3 receivers, I was the most underweight on Kupp. Never because of a lack of thinking that he didn't have it in him to go out and be the best receiver in the league. He's just Cooper Kupp is that dude.
Did this happen? Like for real hurt?
Did he get hurt at practice day? Great.
Did someone drop something in the chat or if I missed it? I've missed it.
We must have missed it.
I don't see anything. Ankle. Derek says ankle. God damn it.
Well, that's also
that's really bad for me.
Rolled his ankle. Okay, like ankle injuries suck, but if he just rolled it and it's not like a high ankle sprain, then I'm not stressing out about it at the moment. Right?
Yeah, right. Cooper Kupp is on IR with a high ankle sprain. Like if that happens, we're nervous. Then we're very nervous. But okay, Silas says he rolled his ankle in the game and tweaked it in practice. All fair, all very, very fair points, and I also agree with this, as GA says. We have no idea what it means. It could be serious. To you guys' point, I'm not saying bringing it up is not relevant. It's definitely relevant, but it could be. It could also. He literally could not be on the injury report by the time it. Do they? When do they play? Sunday.
So you're hitting me with these ones, and
I know it's Wednesday. I'm not prepared. I don't even know who plays who this weekend. I don't know.
They are playing Indy on 1:00.
Okay.
So a game that if he is sort of hurt, they could hold him out of. Right? Like
it's true.
Because Indy is very beatable. Although I will say Indy does have sort of the game plan to beat Philly.
Matt Ryan's back, which I'm not saying that's great, but pound JT. I mean, JT had like 20 carries in the first half last week. I never felt so vindicated about a DFS play in my entire life as JT just getting fed last week. But like, grind it out with JT without Goddard. Keep Hurts and co off the field. Matt Ryan throwing the checkdowns to Paris and Pittman and stuff. I don't know. It's reasonable that they at least hang in there.
Yeah. I'm still taking Philly on my parlay this week, though.
Yeah.
It's still happening. I don't even know if I want to talk about DFS from last week. I had such a sick sweat in the $100 single entry on FanDuel, and I didn't take my own advice, Eric. we were on the Sunday show together, and we'll get off this
Mhm.
topic real quick, but I said, if you're looking at a pivot, play CeeDee Lamb over Tony Pollard. I was doing really well. My last two players were JT and Pollard. And if I had just done what I originally thought, which was to play the Minnesota D so that I had enough money to pivot to CD if needed, I would have won. I would have won the $100 single entry, and I didn't do it. And I came in like 16th place, which is still, decent money. It's just
Yeah.
not the first place bragging rights where I go to the Better Collective offices and I just put my hands on the counter and be like, now you have to pay me all the money because I won a tournament.
Exactly. Kick Dan Bach out of his office and let me get his desk.
I need this corner office.
Yeah, I think he does have the corner office. It's totally fair that we talk about DFS. I think it's a football show. We can talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. And all these people in the chat are definitely playing DFS.
Right.
I have had the single worst main slate season of my, maybe since the first year or two that I played when I was, didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Just cannot. Played 3 teams this week on DraftKings. One's got Judy, who dies within, I don't know. I barely even sat down to watch the games and Judy was done. One's got, I forget, whatever. Anyway, and then I stacked the Jags on 2 teams. I only have Kirk on 1. We talked about this and I decided, you know what? Let's do the Justin Watson thing. Play Justin Watson. He plays 75% of the snaps. Juju gets hurt. I hope Juju's okay. I'm not rooting for it, but you know what I mean? Cardman's out. Juju gets hurt. Justin Watson played the most snaps of the whole Chiefs, caught a pass, a 20-yard pass in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing after that. And then goddamn didn't play Justin Fields, of course. Oh, we're just chasing points with Justin Fields. What a bunch of idiots. Just another, 45 fantasy points and 2 Cole Kmet touchdowns. God, it's been so frustrating. But the afternoon was good. Had CD, had Christian Watson on the afternoon. Wow. So the afternoon has been the only place where I've been able to make money. I should probably just stick to. Is there an equivalent in best ball to 3 games, 3-game best ball slates? I would like to play those because apparently that's where my niche is.
They only pick 16 teams. They get rid of 16 teams out of the pool.
I like this.
And you can
NFC only, AFC only,
AFC only, NFC only best ball, and that's how you have to play it, right?
Rudman, if you listen to this, we're on to something here. We're on to dude, backyard best ball, as cool as that was for 2 seconds, I would prefer short, AFC only, NFC only. That would be better.
Which will be fun too, with trades in midseason, right? Because
100%.
If you have, I don't know, let's say TJ Hawkinson went to the Broncos, right? From Detroit. Now he's a 0 every week for the rest of the season. It's
every week.
Now he's out. He's out of it. Mm-hmm. And if Tyreek
CMC,
Hill,
dude.
Right.
CMC would be gone. CMC was the 101 in regular
draft.
No,
they're still NFC. Oh, you're saying if he went to an AFC team.
But do you lose the points if he how would that work? If he stay NFC to NFC stays the same, AFC to AFC, you I don't know. Anyway, this is really not that important to the conversation we're trying to have, but I think that doesn't this talk about we haven't even just touched all the possibilities that kind of come with best ball. I think it's pretty. Because this exists in fantasy baseball and stuff. People, the fantasy baseball grinders talk about this all. My 30 team AL only league. They're rostering AAA catchers, hoping that they get called up and stuff. I don't know. That seems interesting to me for best ball.
My idea last year that got a little bit of traction when I tweeted it was single entry, but within the context that you get 12 entries, but you can only pick from each draft slot once. So you can only get the one-on-one once. It's just random. So that's something I want to see, where you can only pick from each draft spot once in a tournament. And that it comes into strategy too, because if you get the one-on-one early, it's well, maybe I don't want to get another draft spot. Or if you're going to have the one-on-one, if you go through everything and the last thing's left for you, the one-on-one, do you hold off a bit so that you have more information or whatever? So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The technical part of that, it's the only problem.
yeah, that's what I said to
Them
like
building it, yeah.
trying to build that would probably be a nightmare for them.
Because like you can't, there will be times where the people that enter the draft room can't draft together.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you get 6 people and they all can't have the 6th pick or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that's the hard part.
Right. So they'd have to figure that out. But like something like that would be a lot of fun. I mean, again, it'd be tough to build.
I think you'd have to schedule them. I think you would schedule them kind of like FFPC does. And I think it would work. Semi little small teaser. We're working on a scheduled Spike Week Battle Royale draft. So more on that. But I think if you scheduled them, like there might be a way for Underdog to be like, okay, these people signed up. Like you can't back out. Once you click in, you know, you're in.
Yeah.
And so if Rob and I both can't have the 6, like they would be able to finagle that a little bit better if you had to, you know, like, cause then they could say only the 6th pick is available in this draft. Rob physically can't, like, we're not going to let you enter because, you know, whatever. But anyway, we're really deep in the weeds on some fun ideas.
Silas asked if we did any Best Ball Resurrection. I did 9 Best Ball Resurrection teams. I'm currently advancing 6 of those 9, which is pretty
Holy
sweet.
cow.
Yeah. They're all in first or second.
I only did 1. It's advancing and it's a Russ. It's a Russ team.
Ooh.
So I don't feel very good about that. But it has Fields. It's Russ and Fields.
Yeah. I don't even know if I have Fields on any of these teams. My highest is 662. And I'll look at it real quick. It's just it's a 4 quarterback one. I remember this one. So I drafted this early in the Best Ball Resurrection drafts, and I went with a 4 quarterback build, which is Carr, Tua, Stafford, Mariota. So having Tua is key there.
Yeah, you spent 4 picks to get 1.
Yeah, and I got Saquon, Mixon, Stevenson, and Algier as my running backs.
Carr, Tua, Stafford, and Mariota. That's so funny. That's just like for no real reason in particular, but like Carr and Stafford are theoretically the rocks to the team. You know, the like, okay, I know what I'm getting from these guys. And Tua and Mariota are the flyers, and it couldn't be further from the opposite. Like it's totally the opposite.
Right. And then it has like AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson. So it's like it's a fun team. It's got Christian Watson. That's why it's probably doing well after this week. So yeah, we did some Best Ball Resurrection. I was a little burnt at that point with drafting. So I had to like pump the brakes a bit. And I think you're a lot like myself where we already have so much money invested. We're not just coming on here talking about best ball. I mean, there's more people with more money, of course, invested than me, but you know, I'm over 6K invested in this NFL season. Like
it's a
probably
time,
close to 7.
It's the time investment for me. I really don't care about the monetary. I mean, I care, of course, but the you know, you could get 6K in a few hours, right? If
you're playing the high stakes stuff,
if you're playing the 500 plus, the $2,000 or whatever. But when you're grinding all these $25 and $5 and stuff drafts, by the time the season gets here, God damn, man, I was like we've talked about this, I think offline. It's like trust me, this is not asking for pity, but I'm saying the reason why when the season starts, I don't do a lot of like resurrection drafts is because every waking moment of my life for however many 9 months or something I mean, really year round, but particularly for that stretch is making that content, doing rankings, tweeting about this and drafting. And the drafts take the longest, you know what I mean? And you got to fit them in 45 minutes a pop or whatever. You got to fit them in. And so by the time the season gets here, like I respect everybody that can just keep grinding it, you know, shout out to all those guys. But man, it was tough for me this year to, once the season got here, to keep going.
Yeah. I was the same way. I mean, like you said, it's 45 minutes a pop in, probably doing 2 to 3 drafts at minimum per day on average during that stretch, and then some days even more because you're just trying to get your volume in. So yeah, it can be grinding. It takes away. You do take your weekends off or whatever days you have off during the season just to like get that mental health aspect of getting away from it for a minute. And sometimes getting away helps refresh you and helps you stop just going through the motions as well. So it was nice to take a little bit of time away. I did do some of the best ball resurrection drafts just because I wanted to keep my nose in what was going on at the time. But yeah, I mean, I'm more excited for playoffs. I like the
Same.
resurrection drafts.
I'll grind the playoff best ball drafts like a motherfucker. Like that.
Yeah.
I love those. So do the dogs.
Yeah, dogs are all about the playoff best ball. I had to check and make sure I didn't have the same color. I looked back, even though I can see myself on screen, because I was seeing if we had the same color lights going on. Because I was going to say that's really bad, and no, I went with the pink on the back end. But yeah, do you want to start talking about week 17? You had we were chatting a little earlier. You had some interesting takes on this.
Yeah, I actually think so. I would call it two parts, but the main thing that I think is most fascinating, and I kind of honestly stumbled across this yesterday, did a show yesterday where tons of awesome comments and stuff that helped kind of spur a lot of this conversation. But I was talking about, league winners yesterday. Like, obviously everyone sees like Ken Walker, Justin Fields, these guys, Travis Kelce, whatever, these guys as clear league winners that if you have
Patrick
them on your
Mahomes.
team, they're yeah. I love that you're still trying to get the Patrick Mahomes in. Just let Justin Fields happen. Just let it. Stop trying to make fetch happen, please. Obviously, Mahomes is great, but you know what I mean. Like everybody's like, oh, you get to the end of the year, and the guys who scored the most points relative to their ADP are like, that was the league winner, and that is true. But there's in best ball, right? So like on drafters, that's game set match. It's like you have what if you have Kelce, and it may not even be true. I don't know what's winning drafters. I don't have it pulled up or anything. But right, but you have Ken Walker, you have Kelce, you have the Justin Jefferson or Kelce. You have maybe Saquon's on there. Drafters is a little fluky, but it's just basically who scored the most points relative to their draft position. Yeah. But on Underdog and DraftKings, where we focus most of our efforts, it's like last year. Like, think about this time last year. It was not the who we thought it was.
Right.
Jamar Chase was good. Jamar Chase was probably someone we'd be talking about, like he's in the conversation, but he was never. It was Cooper. If you thought wide receiver league winner, you were like, yeah, it's fucking Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Cooper Kupp went after Jamar Chase for a lot of the offseason, and he was blowing away the field. Mark Andrews blowing away the field. And all we think about now, who the league winners were from last year, was Jamar Chase, Rashad Penny, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Right? And going into week 11 of last year, if someone said, guess who the league winners are going to be? And we listed those three, you'd laugh in their face.
Yep.
Like, you'd be like, that's silly. But I actually don't know exactly when like the Amon-Ra surge started to happen, but like there was a point in time, Debo, 100% Derek, Debo definitely on that list. But there was a point in time where you started to see like, oh man, this dude's like elite target share. I remember late in this season last year with Amon-Ra, he was projecting as like the second highest target share on DFS slates at like 6K and still wasn't super chalky because people just hadn't come around to it yet. I played him in the DraftKings Live final and he smashed against the Cardinals, so much so that the Cardinals got destroyed by the Lions. But it was like he was coming into it, right? I gotta stop talking about Kadarius Toney, but I get those vibes from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like
no, it feels like that's coming.
Right, Amon-Ra started building up, and all of a sudden, when peak playoff best ball time came around, it was like, holy shit, Amon-Ra is a smash. And like that's what Toney feels like to me. It's like, oh my God, when we get to like week 15, 16, 17, this dude is like gonna go nuts. Those are the guys that in best ball mania and these playoff format best ball tournaments that are the league winners. Right. Ken Walker is Ken Walker is a league winner in the sense of what we think about traditional fantasy. But like, dude, he's like the best pick in all of fantasy. Everybody that has him is smashing.
Yep.
He's going to be really popular. It's like, yes, of course you would like to have him, but the real league winners are Amon-Ra, Penny, right? So who is Amon-Ra? Who is Penny? Who's Jamar Chase? Who are those guys this year? And I think that whole conversation is super fascinating. Went into detail with it yesterday.
Yep.
And I think things are starting to we really still don't know, but things are starting to kind of open up to where we can at least start to discuss who some of those guys might be, particularly with a lot of these injuries.
I definitely think Kadarius Toney is one of them, which it's like the perfect storm. He gets traded to Kansas City. That unfortunate Juju injury, which was brutal, of course, happens.
Bad, really bad. Yeah.
Real bad. So he's probably out for a few weeks, which allows probably more time for Toney on the field. I would assume that they're going to run Toney MVS a lot. But the other one, and this is super recency bias, but just based on seeing what he did do, it might lead to something clicking for the rest of the season. And it's only one game, but it's Christian Watson, right? Like,
oh yeah, good. Like, I'm glad you brought him up. Yeah,
right. Like, I mean, like, I know it's a one game thing, but Amon-Ra was only like 4 games last year, roughly. And why can't Christian Watson be that guy? Pains me to say, because the Packers have been, abysmal. Like, you don't want to play any Packers if you don't have to, but Christian Watson is a guy that was drafted in 100% of leagues for sure. He wasn't falling out of draft, so he's going to be on advancing teams. He just might be like a Jamar Chase in the sense that he wasn't the reason you advanced, to your point. So what's his percentage going to be in these playoff teams? Lower than, to your point, Kenneth Walker, for sure, especially because they were going close to the same, if I remember correctly. Maybe a few rounds.
Watson really started to fall.
Yeah, he did.
I think
did start to fall.
I don't know. I can pull it up here in a second, but I don't know what his final ADP was. But I think that's the difference that is so fascinating for best ball. That's why I love this. Like, this topic, we could probably sit here for fucking hours and talk about this and the subject yesterday on the show. The difference in best ball and traditional fantasy football is so great that I don't think anyone can actually wrap their brain around it. I literally fucking eat, sleep, and breathe this, and I'm not sure that I can wrap my brain around it. It, like, we're talking about Amon-Ra. Rashad Penny could not have been a worse pick in traditional fantasy leagues last year.
Yep.
You lost. Not only did you lose, you cut him. You cut him, and by the time he was relevant, it didn't matter. You know what I mean? It was the playoffs. Maybe somebody picked him up and off waivers or whatever, but like, he wasn't relevant. Amon-Ra. You know how many times you started Amon-Ra when it mattered in your traditional season-long league? 0 times. Do you know how many times, even in a best ball lens, on drafters, do you know how many times Amon-Ra mattered for you in the first 3 months of the season? Literally 0.
Right.
Like, not even an exaggeration. He never made your lineup.
Right.
Jamar Chase was great. If you took Jamar Chase over Cooper Kupp, you're buried. Right? But those are the guys you need to have. They were it. If you did not have Rashad Penny, Jamar Chase, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, you lost. You didn't even like make good money in best ball, right? Like, Pete and I's team that did really well finished 8th, I believe. Was it awesome? No. Nope. But guess what? we didn't even have Amon-Ra. We had Rashad Penny and Jamar Chase and enough else that we were live. You know what I mean? And we had I think we had Devin Singletary, whatever. We had just enough around 2 out of the 3 core plays, if you will, that you needed to have. And it's like, did we have the best fantasy football team of the year? No, not even close. Our quarterbacks were Dak Prescott and Mac Jones. Our RB1 got hurt on the second play of the season. Our team wasn't very good, but we just happened to have the guys you need come week 17. So that conversation, I think, is why we should readdress it throughout the course of the year. Like, right now, it's like, we're definitely going to do it next year, but like the guys you think you need throughout the course of the season kind of change all the time. And like monitoring that is something no one ever does. And like I want to like right now, if you have Justin Fields, you're like, holy shit. Smash.
Yeah.
Right? Like stone cold smash. If you have Ken Walker, smash. But last year at this time, the guys you would have said that about didn't end up being the guys.
Right.
So like I'm just very interested in talking through all of that and being like, can we spot the next Amon-Ra? Can we spot the next Penny? Or is it just Ken Walker's 60% owned in the BBM3 finals and like that's the guy you needed? You know, he does another 102 game in the finals and that's the guy you need. I just think we can continue to elaborate on this subject and learn more from it through the process, not just like next offseason, just looking at, oh, yeah, Jamar Chase had 5 touchdowns. So, you know, that's the guy you needed. Like the whole process can help us learn a little bit more, I think.
But I think it goes with identifying those guys in the draft as well. So when we talk about the week 17 stuff and the guys that can go off for 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, guys with Christian Watson we're going around is like Jarvis Landry, right? Like not to dunk on Jarvis Landry like we always do.
Yeah.
Right. But
yeah.
Is there
the Zeke of wide receivers? He's got to be like the Zeke of wide receivers. Yeah.
Is there a 3 to 4 touchdown outcome for Jarvis Landry in week 17? Most likely not, like sub 1%, I would say. Right. But Christian Watson, his range of outcomes is so wide. He's a rookie. We're not really sure what he's going to do, but he's more explosive. We know that already. Who's not more explosive than Jarvis Landry? So what is your team doing with that type of player? Like, and I actually was thinking about this when I was listening back to your show from yesterday, which is you were talking about one of your really good teams and you were talking about the tight end position. I think you have Trey McBride and I forget
my
who
highest
else.
team in all of Underdog is a big board team.
Yeah.
So if anybody didn't participate in the big board, that is pre-NFL draft team. And the tight ends, I drafted 3 tight ends. This was back when they had 20 rounds, but still, I drafted 3 tight ends. They are Trey McBride, Kylan Granson, and Blake Jarwin, who, by the way, is not on and never even signed with an NFL team. Trey McBride has produced. I have literally used Kylan Granson's tight end score on my highest scoring Underdog team all year.
Yeah.
Kylan Granson. But it was everybody, you know, the whole team is a smash outside of that, obviously.
Yeah. And they're scoring you at most like hardly anything, right?
I think Kylan has 1 double-digit week in 10 weeks.
And even the guys that are getting you like 8 or 9 consistently that have no chance to get you 25 or whatever, right? Like does it matter? I mean, you got to draft tight ends. Don't get me wrong. Like you still have to draft them. It's part of the thing. But why are we wasting a 10th round pick on a tight end when we can just do it in the 16th, 17th, 18th round, and we can be getting a Garrett Wilson or a Christian Watson, just to keep saying the name, or one of these a Drake London next year. Like a Drake London, I saw that conversation. Davis Maddock brought up a great point about him. Like, where is he going next year in drafts? And to me, he is going to be the poster boy for a guy that starts in probably the 7th round, just because people are going to remember this year. And then they get their quarterback and he just slowly rises up. And by the end of draft season, he's going to be a 4th round pick for sure. So you're going to see guys like that. So like, to go with this conversation, identifying those guys early enough as well so that we're getting him in the 7th. I'm still going to take him in the 4th too. I don't think you have to, because we got him in the 7th, we can't take him in the 4th. We've established that. We've established that drafting at strictly ADP is kind of dumb, to be honest with you.
Correct.
Right. Not going nuts. You're not taking, somebody that usually goes in the 18th and the 1st or anything like that. But yeah, get your guys. If you've identified that you'd rather have Christian Watson than Jarvis Landry and it's a 12 pick difference or something like that, just fucking take him. Who cares?
I love the Landry. I love the Landry shade in the chat. I appreciate you guys. That is really good. No, I totally agree. I think I talked a little bit again, not to keep referencing that show, but I thought it was a really good conversation. The people in the chat were like feeding awesome like insight into me. So it helped create a really interesting conversation around the league winner concept, which frankly is kind of what we're talking about when we're talking right now, you know, like week 17 playoffs, guys that are ascending or descending, is really a league winner conversation. I think that Christian Watson is a guy I did not discuss yesterday that I think we should discuss a little bit, maybe from a week 17 lens as well. Or a playoff lens as well. In week 17 they play the Vikings, and if the Packers can steal a couple more wins, the Packers are going to fight down to the last week regardless. Just by they're like, yeah, they spent all, you know, they have so much money on the books they couldn't even afford Devontae Adams, and they have, you know, a 40-year-old quarterback, so clearly they're not going to tank. And they're still in the playoff hunt. You're going to get to that point. The Vikings are probably going to be playing for something, probably not a playoff berth, but could be, who knows? It could be home field. It could be right. You're going to get later in the season, and the Packers, like if Aaron Rodgers has been begging for someone to step up, Romeo Doubs was like quasi doing it, but like only to the extent of earning targets.
Yeah.
Not to the extent of producing. And say whatever we want, right? Like from a fantasy lens, and that we'll get to next summer and we'll be like, yeah, Romeo Doubs, he was earning a lot of volume. That's a guy we want to bet on. I will literally probably say that at some point during the next offseason. You know, young guy earning a lot of volume when he's out there or whatever. But Christian Watson earned volume, was the higher draft capital player, is a more explosive player from a profile standpoint, and then produced. And like, I hate to be that narrative based thing, but like, I don't know how many years we need to watch Aaron Rodgers before we believe that the narrative should exist for him. He made them go get Randall Cobb.
Right.
They drafted Amari Rodgers in the second or third round, and he made them go get Randall Cobb. Amari Rodgers is now on the fucking Texans because he hasn't done anything, but also Aaron doesn't like him. Mm-hmm. Right? MVS is not still around. ESB is not still around. Alan Lazard is still around. And again, they've produced, but it has also been because of Aaron Rodgers. And if Aaron Rodgers is chucking up bombs and Christian Watson's catching them, guess who's going to keep getting the rock? Christian Watson. And so, like, dude, if his competition is Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb to catch balls from Aaron Rodgers,
yep,
like down the stretch, and he was he fell far because he was hurt, right? Mm-hmm. He wasn't running with the ones. It was all negative sentiment on Christian Watson going, and he was like a really raw prospect. But like, that's like, remember, like, so it's not the same thing, but Justin Jefferson, you know, the whole draft market was different back then, but Justin Jefferson was the guy we were like, he's Olabisi Johnson starting over him. And like, we weren't that excited for Justin Jefferson as a prospect. And like, you know, all these different reasons pushed him way down the draft board. Yep. Amon-Ra, 4th round rookie. He was fine at USC. You know, honestly, he wasn't even he was never the best wide receiver on USC. He played with Michael Pittman and Drake London at different times. Like, you were like, yeah, he's fine. But like, meh. But that's Christian. That feels like Christian Watson to me, where we're just like, yeah, he's fine. You know, he played with Trey Lance in college, which maybe we should have given him a pass for playing with Trey Lance in college. But like, if he's the guy on an Aaron Rodgers passing offense, why isn't he the league? Why isn't he the guy when you get to week 17? You're like, I have 17th round Christian Watson. Like that's a stone cold smash.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think identifying those players going forward is the key. And don't besmirch the name of Randall Cobb. My highest scoring best ball team is in the Puppy 3. And I want you to know that it has an Aaron Rodgers, Randall Cobb stack. So take that is what I would say.
Yeah, I'm sure that's if I can dream up a stack that's going to win 100K, it's definitely Aaron Rodgers or Randall Cobb in the year 2022.
It also has TJ Hawkinson, but it's Patrick Mahomes. It's a Patrick
Hey, that's
Mahomes,
nice.
Christian McCaffrey team with
Yeah, so
Tyreek and AJ Brown.
You defined it as an A-Rob Randall Cobb team. You're never going to use those guys to scores. It's a really good team, but not because of those slapdicks.
Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those. Is there anything like, not to stray too far away, but is there anything like is there like teams you're super excited about that you have going into the playoffs soon? That like
Like
you're
basketball
watching?
teams that I
Yeah.
have that I'm looking at.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not, it's totally understandable.
I haven't thought about it a lot yet. I mean, I look through tons and tons of teams. I think
Right.
that's part of the problem is I'm constantly it's a little content related, obviously, but I'm constantly looking at, right? So like Christian Watson, all these league winners, this is the other super tilting thing about doing all this content. It was like, I'm obsessed with Kadarius Toney right now. I didn't really draft him that much. I have like, 10 Kadarius Toney teams. Christian Watson, same thing. I didn't really draft him that much. I'm really excited for him. Ken Walker, obviously, looks great. But what I'm gonna answer a question with a half answer and a question back to you. The team that I've mostly been tracking all year, that's probably the best team I drafted in all of best ball relative to contest, is in the 555 on DraftKings.
Yep.
It has run away with first place. It is an Eagles onslaught with Cooper Kupp.
Oh.
Yeah, Mark Andrews, Hollywood. But it's going to advance still. It has literally run away with first place. And I'm sitting here looking at this team like doesn't have Goddard, thank God. But so it has Hurts, AJB, Devonta Smith, Miles Sanders as like an Eagles onslaught with the Jags like secondary, Lawrence, Kirk, Zay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had filled in those gaps between those two stacks who've been pretty good with Kirk, Hollywood, Mark Andrews, maybe Gabe, something I don't remember exactly, but like it's really good. Has good enough, like not awesome running backs, but like good enough running backs. And I'm sitting at it looking like this was the team that was like, holy shit. This team, and it has stayed healthy up until this point. It has stayed healthy, and I'm like, oh my god, this team is going to go absolutely nuclear. And then it's like, Andrews is slightly worrying me, but not too much. But Kupp is the problem. And it's like when you have some of those guys on how are you viewing some of those teams looking forward to the playoffs? Like when you get Kupp or if you have Goddard or Earth is already done for the year, but like how are you viewing some of those? Like how would you view a team that's like, especially in a small field tournament, crushing, like absolutely crushing, but it has Cooper Kupp?
Yeah, so that would be because he's your guy. Like your team's loaded still, and you could still like. Luckily, you have the firepower to balance out on that, and it sounds like you can withstand that. But you lose another one of those guys, and
it's over. Yeah.
It's curtains. At least it's advancing. I've already said the team that me and Pete have. That's the one that I'm tracking. We are, I think, so we have 1298 right now, and the last team that's advancing is at 1112. So that team's got to be in at this point, right? And our problem was sort of like yours. We lost Breece Hall, but we had the firepower to pick that up as well, where we have Fournette, Stevenson, Jacobs, and Walker. So we're all set. Like our team is good as long as it stays healthy. What I wanted to bring up is the juxtaposition of that, which is I've only done 2 big dog teams this year, right? And we hit on running backs on that team. I did the other one by myself. And it starts off with the Mahomes Kelsey stacks, which sounds great, right? Like I got Mahomes, I got Kelsey, I'm rolling. I did a 2-7-7-2 build, and just listen to these running backs. Listen to these running backs I hit. Javonte Williams. Yeah. Cam Akers. Because he went 2 rounds past ADP, and I was like, I got to take him. Gainwell. Madison. Eno. Zach Moss, Dearness Johnson. Is there a
I mean,
bigger whiff? Is there a
they're
bigger
all
whiff on a
they
running
all,
back team?
especially when you factor in Cam Akers being 2 rounds past ADP. Every one of those picks, you're like, yep, makes sense.
Now listen
And
to the
they're
wide
all
receiver.
and they're all awful. Literally, like the stone worst. Awful.
You want to hear the wide receivers? Hollywood, which was not a whiff until the injury, but now it's kind of a
No, I'm not. He's
yeah,
hey, he's already telling us he's coming back this week, so
right.
I'm excited for Hollywood.
But then Elijah Moore,
Oh, fuck.
MVS, Lazard, Chase Claypool, KJ Osborne, Zay Jones.
That's
Like
that's good. I
it's
think that's fine. It's
it
fine.
makes sense on paper, but you look at it and you're like,
Yeah, I mean Elijah Moore is Elijah Moore. MVS has been fine.
yeah,
KJ Osborne has been fine. Zay has been fine.
that team's dead, by the way.
Yeah,
Like-
I could fucking tell it was dead.
But just as like it's the juxtaposition, like those are my two big entry ones. So like
Yeah.
I'm glad your big entry one there is advancing, and I'm
I'm
glad for the sweat one of mine is as well.
I'm gonna share the screen because I can't get it to pull up on Draft IQ. But so this is the team.
Mhm.
This is week 1 score. So you can I'll go to move it to week 10 score. Where you see I got 8th. So you can see I'm starting to die. Hurts. And so this week I used Hurts, McKinnon, Melvin with Kirk, MVS, Devonta Smith, Trey McBride. Oh, a little. We got a little juice. Zay Jones. So you see Hurts and Lawrence. Fucking, I didn't even realize Khalil Herbert was on the team. That sucks. Miles Sanders, fine. David Bell, dust. Rex Burkhead, mega dust. Now Cooper Kupp, dust. AJ Brown, I don't know. The chat's telling me he's dust. Sony Michel, dust. Mark Andrews, that's fine. Hollywood, back. Michael Carter, fine. Zamir White, please God, Raiders shut it down so he gets the ball when Josh Jacobs gets shut down. It was this team that was just basically because of the 2 teams I stacked, and Cooper Kupp and Mark Andrews and Hollywood. It was like I hit 2 awesome stacks, right? I think people, I know you were really heavy on the Jags, and we haven't talked a lot about week 17, but I would like to talk about the Jags a little bit.
Yep.
They have not been viewed as like a league winning stack or a stack you should be like super excited about moving forward. But this also can be viewed through a couple lenses. ETN looks really good, but like if you have a Jaguar on your team, they've probably helped you. Even like Marvin Jones has helped you like twice.
Yep.
He's the worst one, but like Lawrence has been good relative to draft capital. Christian Kirk has been awesome. Yep. He's like top 10 in the league in we just posted a new page with stats where we're trying to calculate like spike weeks, usable weeks, and all that. He's top 10 in the NFL in wide receiver spike weeks. Christian Kirk is. Zay has been like super usable. ETN's obviously now a smash. Evan Ingram's been usable at tight end. The Jags have been awesome. So like I just happened to hit on a team that has Eagles, which are obviously a smash, and Jaguars, which are a smash. And then I happen to have Cooper Kupp, Mark Andrews, right? Some filler that was good, but like it's all dying. It's all dying. I'm like, God, I guess this team's just gonna get me my money back or whatever in this tournament. I don't know that I'm gonna advance unless Cooper Kupp comes back and actually gets to play. It's possible, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
It's funny that you have Christian Kirk and Devonta Smith on this team, because that's the comparison I was about to make for next year, where we really like Devonta Smith, but he was going like 5th or 6th round, and then the AJ Brown trade happens and he drops around.
Yep.
And I think the same thing, the trade's already happened, but I think it might happen to Christian Kirk as well, where he's undervalued because people are going to be looking at the shiny new toy, which is Calvin Ridley. And rightfully so, because he's Calvin Ridley. But I don't think that lowers Kirk's value. I think they're, again, what is the team trying to tell you? They want to throw the football. We said this with the Eagles this year, right? So I think Kirk's value is, I'm probably going to be targeting him heavy again next year. Now, I can see the Jags as being the team that everybody falls in love with in the offseason and they get talked way up. And
I'm worried about that. Yeah.
that's what I'm worried about. I mean, hell, I'm already talking about it.
Lawrence, ETN, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram's on a 1-year deal. But I mean, they have cap flexibility. The draft pick's going to be reasonably fine. They're going to look good next year. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that's the one caveat, is they might just get really, really talked up. But there's a possibility that Kirk gets undervalued again, because you have ETN, you have Lawrence, you have not that Lawrence matters in that because he's the quarterback, but you have ETN, you have Calvin Ridley. Like, people might be like, they might do what they do with Devonta Smith, and they're like, well, one of these guys isn't going to be good, and I think Kirk's going to be fine. Not saying he's going to be the number one wide receiver of the year or anything like that, but his value this year has been immense for a 7th round pick.
Smash. Right? Yeah. And he's going to go later than that next year because, like you said, Ridley will be there. Ridley will be the shiny new toy. And that's what we love. Calvin Ridley's better than Christian Kirk, which is not really debatable. And he's going to have really fresh legs. Not fresh hands. Motherfucker probably been gambling like crazy for the last year. But where's Ridley's going to go in the first 5 rounds? Where's Kirk going to go? Round 10 or something like that? So yeah, I don't disagree at all. Can we talk about actually the fantasy playoffs though for at least 10 minutes before we get out of here? The conversation has low key been really awesome, but we haven't covered any of the subjects we were going to cover. And you wanted to draft, the team.
I do want to draft the team. I just pulled it up, so whenever you want to do that, let me know. And we'll.
I want to talk super quickly about the playoffs and just where expectations have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be necessarily that much individual player stuff. Clearly, the Rams are the biggest change to me from a preseason expectation to a now expectations. Like if you have a Ram on, including Cooper Kupp, if you have a Ram on your team, you are not happy about it. Darrell Henderson scored another touchdown this week. He scored back touchdowns in back-to-back weeks.
Yep.
I think, and is useless. He's barely making your team, even though he's scoring a touchdown on the freaking Super Bowl champion offense. He's useless. Tyler Higbee got back to volume because Cooper Kupp got hurt this week. Still pretty much useless. Allen Robinson very clearly useless. They're not going to get Odell's not going to the Rams. They're not getting any new firepower. The Rams are a stone cold disaster. I don't want any Rams on my teams when I'm looking at them and hoping for the future. You could pipe dream about Kyron Williams or something like that, but it doesn't matter. On the opposite end, it's got to be the Bears, right? That we went literally those two teams went in total opposite directions. I know that they play the Lions in Week 17, which naturally makes us excited, but I think, given the draft capital, I'm curious what your opinion is about kind of the Bears projecting forward, because they do have 2 tough matchups in the fantasy playoffs before they get to the Lions. And it's you think about the practicality of getting a Fields Kmet, Fields Booney, Fields Claypool, if you happen to luck box into that stack into Week 17. Mm-hmm. God forbid you have Amon-Ra or Jamal Williams or Swift or something on the other side. It's I almost want that more than we love the Chiefs. We love, everybody loves the Bills. Everybody loves all these teams. I almost am how do I get a Justin Fields stack into week 17? Because tell me how he doesn't have just as much upside. And then on those teams, you have maybe you have Travis Kelce, maybe you have Jefferson, you have Hollywood, who we were talking about before. I just feel if I can find a way to get Fields teams into the finals, that's a smash.
Well, they're one of the teams I flip-flopped on in the offseason. I was wheels up on them before, when we started in February. I'm they're going to add a guy, and this team is going to be the smash of smashes. And then they didn't add the wide receiver, and I nuked them. I was I'm not drafting this team. And it was never I've always thought Fields was one of the best 2 quarterbacks out of that draft class. I thought it was him. I thought it was Lawrence. And
egregious, by the way. Can we egregious he went where he went?
Yeah.
It's call it hindsight. I don't give a shit. You can flame me. Fantasy receipts. Sign it up. That egregious that he went where he went. And I've been the guy touting Trey Lance. Justin Fields is everything we dreamed Trey Lance would be, and he did it at fucking Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
He did it at Ohio State in the Big Ten, and everybody let him. Why did he? Please explain to me why he went after all these guys. Why was he closer to Mac Jones than to Zach Wilson?
I was praying he fell. Like when he was the 4th and the Patriots. Still, I knew the Patriots.
If the Patriots had Justin Fields, holy shit, dude!
Oh my God, I was praying for that to happen, and it didn't happen. But yeah, I mean,
Bailey Zappi. You have Bailey Zappi.
Yeah, it's great. And Mac Jones, it's wonderful. We're so excited here. This household is look at how happy Gotham is. He's putting his head in the gate for me to close it. Yeah, this is what we're doing on this show. Yeah, I was a little overreactive, and that's something I need to look at for next year. But I think it was sort of justified in the fact that it felt like the team was purposely setting up to fail. So I do try to read what the team's doing, but Fields he figured it out. And now that he's figured it out, he's a smash. And to your point, to get a Justin Fields team through isn't that hard, because he probably wasn't your first quarterback. Yep. And you might have like a Mahomes Justin Fields team that's perfectly viable.
A Mahomes Fields team has to be like what you're dreaming for, right? I'm pulling this up because I'm pulling up the playoffs. If you look really quickly, KC, okay, gets Houston and then Seattle.
Yep.
Then they get Denver, who I know that. Sorry, no, this is zoomed out. Then they get Denver. I know, like, maybe you like, oh, I'm not worried about Denver for Patrick Mahomes, but even as bad as the offense has been, the pass defense is elite for the Broncos. Yeah. They're the best pass defense in the NFL, actually. So you get Patrick Mahomes against the Texans and then the Seahawks, and you're like, that sounds pretty good. And then you get there with, say, Justin Fields as your QB2, and he gets the Lions in week 17. Like, that sounds amazing. And because it's not that, like, if you have Mahomes and MVS can still get there, Kelsey can still get there, but like having that combination feels just like, and I would not have said that, right? I wouldn't have said Mahomes Fields is the stone cold nuts. It was in the range. I wouldn't have said it was unreasonable, but I wouldn't have said, if we had this conversation in July, I'm like, yep, 100%. Give me Mahomes Fields on all my teams.
And as smart as we've gotten as drafters, I can say that I missed on Fields. He checks all the boxes for what I want. I just thought they were going to be so bad. But I did like Mooney's fine. Kmet was fine. So maybe I should have given him a little bit more. It just, I might have just overreacted a bit. On the flip side, Seattle's been crushing. I was another team I thought was going to do nothing. But I do think that I'm still of the mindset that Seattle is going to come back to earth a bit. Sans Kenneth Walker probably, but I think Gino's going to come back to earth. Maybe
he kind of has already.
Yeah.
He's still playing well, but like from a fantasy perspective, he's fine.
Yeah.
But he's not, their offense is fine. It's not like, I would rather have that. Goddamn, what a crazy roller coaster we've been on. I would rather have Bears.
Yeah. So we going back to our points from earlier, like Justin Fields going wherever he went in drafts was definitely obviously too late. Now, again, hindsight, blah, 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 blah. But even without hindsight, just knowing what type of player he was, you bring up Trey Lance, and it's fine. Again, not going to victory lap an injured guy. But point being is Fields should be in the conversation with Lance no matter what. We liked Lance because of his team, right? Like, that was what it was.
Correct.
He's on the 49ers.
He's on the 49ers. Yeah. So he gets to go in the 6th or 7th round. Fields was a better college player. Mm-hmm. I don't even think that's really debatable. And just because of the situation, I talked about this yesterday, and I'm still workshopping this, so don't hold me to these takes. I think we can be too player sensitive at times, Kyle Pitts, but more often than not, we are too offense sensitive. And this year has dunked on every like preconceived notion everybody had about offenses. The Rams won the Super Bowl, and everybody just said they're the Rams. Allen Robinson on the Rams, Yahtzee.
Yep.
Right? The running backs, awesome. They're on the Super Bowl champions. The Bucks, everybody just said the Bucks. It's Tom Brady. Wash, rinse, repeat. Let's just do this. Run it back. Their offense sucks. Everybody, we just get really ingrained in what we think about offenses, and we sometimes then put the Justin Fields of the world, who are really good, high upside, dynamic players, and we just say, yeah, but the Bears suck. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We know the Bucks are good.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but right, what happens when the Dolphins are what you thought the Bucks were, and what happens when the Bears, are what you thought the Rams were? It's like, well, the whole script changes, and I think I haven't figured out what the real lesson is from that yet, but there's something there for sure.
Continuing on this week 17 thing, here's a question that I have going forward. We talk about stacking week 17 matchups, and it makes sense through, like, of course, like if you have the Bears, you want Lions just because that game, we've seen it already, right? We've seen what that game can do. We know what Bears Lions can be. But what about teams like Philly? And this was like the hard problem I was having in the offseason because I wasn't drafting Saints, but I loved Philly, right? And they play each other week 17. So my game stack for week 17 with Philly and the Saints is like limited, like super, super limited to, hardly any. And I'm more okay with that now, as long as if that's what I'm identifying while I'm drafting. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fine. I'm still fine that I have a ton of Philly shares with no Saints bringbacks. Olave or Kamara could obviously, depending on if they're playing, could absolutely crush that. But I feel as though I've been right about the Saints offense through a microscope at this point, with a few exceptions here and there.
That's what I think gets missed in the week 17 discussion. And I started writing, I'm going to get it out tomorrow, but I started writing a kind of revisiting week 17 piece. And what you just elaborated was a lot of what I started out the whole piece with, where it's like, just because that those two teams play each other in week 17, that shouldn't come into your draft plans until very low on the decision tree, on the totem pole of decision making. And so if your bet was your rankings, right, your projections, whatever your process is that creates a ranking list or your decision tree for drafting, if the Saints are like lower than ADP on all of that, the week 17 game does not trump that, right? Like, I was out on, this is probably going to sound very stupid, I was out on Mark Andrews as an example. I'm not drafting him because I have a week 17 matchup. I was out on Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady. We just talked about those quarterbacks. It didn't matter if I drafted Cooper Kupp and I drafted Mike Williams. I'm like, oh, I got to get that week 17 game. They were literally like a tier for me behind all these other guys.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is actually the best example. If I drafted Justin Jefferson, I could easily stack Aaron Rodgers if I wanted to. But Aaron Rodgers was so far past his ADP in ranking for me that he's just never even going to come into the conversation. I think people screw it up by saying they're just looking, right? You go on Underdog, it's sorted by ADP. So you're drafting off ADP. And so you instantly jump to the correlations. The correlations are tiebreakers, and they're powerful tiebreakers to me. Not everyone agrees, but they're powerful tiebreakers because I don't know who to pick, right? If it's that sounds stupid. Like, why don't you have a player take? It's like, I don't know. They're the same to me, right? Ken Walker and Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know. Both sound good.
Yep.
Right. And they both hit. But it's like, I want Ramondre on certain teams and I want Ken Walker on other teams. And you just break ties with the correlation. And so
but there has to be a tie, to your point. They
correct.
have to be a tie.
Yes. 100%. It only comes to the tie. That's it's a I quoted Mike Leone, shout out Leone, thanks Leone, in the article. He had an awesome tweet when we were talking about this offseason, and he said, if you are not like breaching ADP, basically, and I elaborated on a little bit in the piece, if you're not breaching ADP or your like rankings, tiers, whatever, and you're siding with correlation, which basically means, like you said, there's a tie. Mm-hmm. And you're siding with correlation in a tie, it's a free roll. Yep. Like even if the correlation doesn't matter, it doesn't. Who gives a shit? You just pick two players who project the exact same, and you said, I'm going to pick the one that has a correlation in week 17. It's a free roll. It literally doesn't matter if you're right about the correlation mattering. That's great. If you're not, it doesn't matter because it's like playing two guys in DFS who both project for 10 points. It doesn't matter, right? Yeah. The correlation is what breaks the tie. So
I want to go back to one of our earlier examples, and I was just talking about the Eagles, right? And talking about bringbacks for the Eagles, and if I have an Eagle stack and I get to that round and Jarvis Landry and Christian Watson are sitting next to each other, there's a lot of people that would have just taken Landry because they're like, well, that's the week 17 matchup. I want to take Jarvis Landry. I wasn't doing that. And there were situations that I probably was doing it that was bad overall. But for like that specific one, I know I would have went Watson over Landry. And there's people that would have called us crazy for it, right? Like, because they're like, well, there's your week 17 correlation. It's like, well, I don't need a Saint. I don't feel like I need one. Like, I'm looking at the Eagles onslaught.
I'm the same way. I have very little Saints, a little bit of Olave, just because he was probably a little bit closer to a tier for me than he was for you. But even then, I didn't really like Olave. I was way lower than market on Kamara, MT, Landry, everybody. Yeah. I wasn't Jameis. I wasn't drafting any of them. Just a sprinkle of Olave. So the same thing. So it's a perfect example. This game is the perfect example of like the week 17 thing, where it's like you talk about week 17, but you didn't draft the Saints as bringbacks to your Jalen Hurts stacks. It's like, no, because that's not what this means. That's not what week 17 means. Week 17 means when I get to round 9 and I have whatever a Chiefs stack and I don't have a Bronco and all these running backs are the same. Yeah. I'll take Melvin. Instead of whatever. Damian Harris, I'll take Melvin Gordon. I don't think that they project the same to me. They look the same to me. I don't think that's unreasonable. But if you say I'm taking Jarvis Landry every time I take a Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown stack, it's like, yeah, but what do you actually feel about Jarvis? Like, where does Jarvis Landry rank for you? If he's 2 rounds past ADP, why are you ever even taking him? Because like, it would be the same thing as playing a DFS play that projects for, right? Cooper Kupp projects for 30 points and Justin Jefferson projects for 28 points. And you play Devontae Adams, who projects for 19 points, at like the same price. Why would you ever do that?
Right.
Like, ownership doesn't matter if the guy projects for that much worse. And that's kind of how it is in best ball too.
Yeah, and Travis brings up the point. Imagine caring if you have a Bronco on your Chiefs stack now. And this is probably the flip side of this, right? Where I'm probably more overweight on the Broncos just because of how heavy I was on the Chiefs. So just like to be transparent and not make myself look great about everything. That's probably one that I did too much of that on. And the other one is probably I probably have too many Patriots on my Dolphins teams. We all like Ramondre, of course. If it's Ramondre, fine. But there was Kendrick Bourne. Like I'm pretty heavy on Kendrick Bourne for because of Dolphins and stuff like that. So there's there are mistakes to be made, and this is probably something to keep in mind for sure when we're drafting next year.
Definitely. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned around this subject for sure.
Yeah. Let's draft the team.
Playoff draft?
Yeah, let's do a playoff draft.
Yeah, let's do it. I haven't done one since we did one last time.
Yeah. So I think I did one more, and it was because I wanted to get more Kadarius Toney before his.
Yes, I need that. I should do that actually. That's a really good point.
I just want to fix this real quick, and then we go to Chrome tab. There we go. Now we're golden. So we only need one person for this draft. If anyone's out there and wants to do it, we see that the top end has pretty much stayed the same on these ADPs for the most part. Top 3 quarterbacks, of course. I'm starting to get really more in. Oh, the 101. Look at us. Who would have thought?
Oh, okay. I'm interested. Yeah, go ahead, continue. But I'm interested in what your take is at the 101.
It at this point it has to be one of the quarterbacks, right? It's Allen Mahomes, one of them, because I think it goes with my point at, oh my god, look at these badges. Look at these badges.
Oh my god, I know all these names, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I know.
I don't know IU champs. I've seen every other name in a draft before. Fuck you guys, by the way. Go get out of here.
Go somewhere else. Yeah. I'm starting to God, I hate saying it, but Jimmy Garoppolo feels right with how late he.
Okay. That was fun to hang out with Rob until he said that Jimmy Garoppolo feels right in a best ball draft.
It sucks because I hate Jimmy Garoppolo, but 49ers feel like they could advance to the Super Bowl. What are you thinking here? Are you?
I think it's got to be Josh Allen now that they lost again, right?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
So like the decision between it, to me, it's him and Mahomes at the 101, and the the problem is which one is going to get the bye. And I would actually, it sounds crazy, I would prefer the one that plays more games because I can draft them solo, right? And people might think about it the opposite way. They're like, well, the Chiefs might be the Super Bowl favorites now, so I want Mahomes. But at the 101, I want the dude who's going to play every game because then I don't have to draft another quarterback.
Yeah, definitely. It gets us not to have to draft Garoppolo. What I was going to bring up before
we don't have to talk about fucking Jimmy G ever again.
But what I was going to bring up with him is if you don't get one of those top 3 spots, like the 49ers definitely feel like a team that could knock off the Eagles for sure.
Yeah.
So doing something like him and Tua or something like that feels really good is where I was going to go with that.
Yeah, I support it. I'm mostly giving shit because I'm a known Jimmy G hater, but I'm gonna be way overweight Jimmy G in this contest. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I have a feeling I am gonna be as well.
Can't imagine how that backfires.
It's weird because you're getting them because you just want them to be in the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl. If you don't get one of those top 3 spots, but anyways. I would love to pull a Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs stack. That's never going to happen at some point in my life on one of these, but here we are.
I'll take Gabe.
Let's hope we can.
I mean, did Stephon Diggs score 4 touchdowns in a playoff game?
Did not. No. Nope. Let's see what
Jeez, I thought I hated Jimmy G, but that's a lot of O's on the old and curse words.
Carlos is not having it.
Not loving Jimmy G.
I mean, I'm the same though. Like I literally have been a Garoppolo hater since he was here in New England. But it's just they feel like the team.
Motherfucker. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I definitely like CD. Can you scroll this page? Debo is there.
Oh, I kind of like Debo to go with
Well,
what
we
we're
got
talking
2
about.
picks. We
Yeah.
got 2 picks. I think NFC and then use our cheap stacking options with Devonta Smith is fine too. CD, Debo, Devonta Smith. I'm down. Yeah, Debo definitely CD and Debo for me, but I'm open to Devonta Smith too.
No, I like Debo. I like I like the 49ers as an NFC bring back just because the way to beat the Eagles is running the football, and we all know which team likes to run the football more than just about any other team is the 49ers, right? So
Something I love about the Bills stack is you can do like my favorite structure last year in the playoff best ball, and I didn't win any of the tournaments, so take it with a grain of salt, but is like all in Bills with like 4 players, right? So like let's say we do Josh Allen, Dawson Knox, Isaiah McKenzie, and
Shakur
Naheem Hines or Shakur.
Yeah.
And then so that's 4 of your 10 picks. Then you have 3 separate 2-man combinations on teams in the opposite conference. So it gives you outs to 6 players in the Super Bowl. You just have to get one thing right. The Bills.
Yeah.
So I think that's my favorite structure with this team.
Yeah, with this specific one for sure. Especially the Bills are going to be hard. They're going to be the hardest team to do anything with in these drafts.
Yep.
We've seen how easy it is to do stuff with the Chiefs. We did it last time. As long as you get Mahomes, you can, Travis Kelce withstanding, you can almost do whatever you want with that team for now. Now,
yeah,
Tony, again, is one of the guys I'm worried is going to rise up the board, but all right. So we are coming up on the clock.
Smith goes.
We
took CD and
we took CD and Debo. So we
Kittle put some Niners and oh god, I don't know what I love about, maybe I prefer Schultz on the Cowboys to the running backs, but I could be coaxed into Pollard. But
you prefer. I mean, we're going to need a running back. Dallas is not going to get the first overall. So
yeah, that's true. Maybe Pollard and hope that kind of he takes over this backfield.
Right. Which I think
playoffs.
Which we've been hoping for 7 years. So
I keep saying it's possible, but is it really, unless Zeke actually dies? Yeah, I don't know if it's possible.
Do you want to do Pollard and Kittle and get our Dallas and San Fran?
Because the other combos are cheaper guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can start. I mean, we know everyone in this draft knows what we're doing. It's not like we're going to be sniped, right? So we can
get Hines in there and Knox and Shakir in there. It's fine.
Oh, gets Reggie Gilliam's not a real person. Tywan Jones, Duke Johnson, Crowder.
When Reggie Gilliam wins this contest,
when everyone just rolls their ankle at practice Super Bowl week and he's the only guy left.
Fullback Reggie Gilliam is playing every snap because all 3 of the running backs got hurt.
So I definitely think.
I agree with this. What Tiger says. I know we're 7 picks away, so it feels, and I don't care about safety, to be clear, but it just feels like the perfect like melding of how do you continue to advance and how do you set yourself up for the Super Bowl matchup. It's like, well, I got to get one thing right. In this instance, it's the Bills. If we took Mahomes, it would be the Chiefs. And then I just need one of 3 other teams in the opposite conference to get there. It's like, I don't know, that maybe I'm an idiot, but that feels like really straightforward to me.
No, I think when you have one of the elite quarterbacks, it makes a ton of sense. I do like a 3-3-2-2 sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to predict
Same idea though, right? Same idea
right.
of trying to pair up the conferences.
And when I do that, it's trying to predict the AFC and NFC championship games, of course. Right. Like that's the game plan on that. So we're coming up. We see McKenzie go. We have Naheem Hines, Dawson Knox, Shakur. I mean, obviously we're not taking Shakur, but we could theoretically take Hines and Knox right now.
Is there another? Who do we don't have a third.
We don't have
NFC
a third NFC team yet.
So do you think Hines would come back or Knox would come back? Or yeah, Knox would be better to come back and then find a third NFC team?
I think we'd really be pushing it on Knox. We'd be hitting right at his ADP, and
let's just take them both.
We know who we're drafting with right now.
Yeah.
So
and those are really the two guys I think we need to get. Yeah.
I think we need to go with those two and potentially reach on Shakur or something, but now we can figure out our third NFC stack as well.
Or Reggie Gilliam.
Yeah, might as well, right? Fire him up. Be the only one with him. He catches.
I think you can take James Cook, as crazy as it sounds, and be like, I don't know, maybe Devin Singletary gets hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not crazy. You also don't have to take the fourth bill. You could do 3-3-2-2, and you still are making the bet on the Bills.
Right.
You're just making a slightly bigger bet on one of your NFC teams,
the 49ers or the Cowboys.
Right.
Al says how far out this is from the playoffs adds so much more interesting strategy. That's why we talk about drafting early all the time on everything, but for me specifically, playoff contest is where you really want to be drafting early, because as the playoff picture becomes more condensed, it's harder to get what you want. Now people are still drafting their Bills early. We see how hard it is to get them, but when this condenses, the Cowboys are going to move up the board a bit. The 49ers are going to be moving up the board some as other teams drop out somewhat. So I think
Kadarius Toney smashes again.
He's going way up. Yep. So that's the other thing. So we're going to be coming up on the board. Do we want to start looking like? Do we want to try to do some sort of
what
Minnesota?
Is our team again? Can you show?
Yes. Sorry, it's Josh Allen, Tony Pollard, Naheem Hines, CD.
Okay, so we got two Dallas, we got two 49ers. So we need another NFC team or Gallup, I guess. Nuke is interesting.
Do we think that the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs? Do we think that's a possibility?
The Rams are out.
Yeah.
It's definitely a possibility. I'm looking at the standings right now. I mean, they're 4-6. The 49ers are 5-4, and the Seahawks are 6-4. The Falcons are 4-6.
Mm-hmm.
The Packers are 4-6.
I have them in the queue. I have Shakur in the queue. We're on the clock right now.
Actually, what about Seattle? DK Metcalf is still available.
Where was he? I missed him.
Go to wide receiver. Up. What about do Seattle as our third team? Is Lockett available?
It's got to be. If DK is available, Lockett's got to be available, right?
I would assume so. Yeah, take those two. That's a fucking smash.
All right, let's do that. That's our third NFC team.
That's an absolute smash, especially because you have running back covered with the Bills. That's another thing that people don't think about. Is like, I got the AFC. In my Bills stack, I have a running back. So I don't need, right? We have two 49ers. Like, having Pollard is fine because we do need some running back points when Naheem Hines is your running back to advance. But like, we don't need a Seahawks running back. We can run it back with the two wide receivers.
Yep. Oh, I don't know why I did that. Been a while, right?
Yeah, exactly. I haven't pulled up a draft board in months.
So just kind of see what goes on here.
So Shakir is probably our guy here, I guess.
If we can get him, I wouldn't be shocked if somebody tries to grab him for some sort of backdoor 2 bills.
Whoever has
there.
Diggs or Gabe,
Yeah, type of deal would be my guess, which is fine. I mean, it would have been nice to get Gabe.
They say that drafting with streamers is plus EV, but Carlos tried and it's not going well.
I think Carlos took Gabe on us though, so
he did.
I don't know why he didn't put him in timeout for 5 minutes.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, so afterwards we'll run through this team and kind of talk about the strategy real quick of why we did what we did, just to button it up. Gainwell late feels real good.
Is he ever going to help you though? Do you think
if Sanders goes down?
Do you like he'll get a little more work? But don't you think they'll just run Boston Scott?
I don't know. I think they like Gainwell. I think you'll see him on the field more. But
Garrett Wilson.
All right.
I mean, if we're talking about teams that are going to make the playoffs, you can't really argue with the Jets.
It's true.
6-3. I mean, they have the same record as the Bills. I think it's Shakir.
Yeah.
Pray to God he takes McKenzie. Pray to God he takes something, right? He gets some work.
Mm.
And in the Super Bowl, like at this point, there's nothing that can really help us advance. Leonard Fournette, I guess, could help us advance, but like we're trying to set up the Super Bowl.
So see if I can remember how to even find
completed.
That's right.
Drafts. Nope. Up. Nope. No. Yep. Hotter.
Yeah, completed. There it is. There it is. I got to scroll down. That's what it is.
Yep. Yeah, this guy. This is a good team.
So we went Josh Allen. Go ahead.
Carlos is rage tilting in the chat and wants to do another draft. I love it.
We did Josh Allen, Tony Pollard, Nyheim Hines, CeeDee Lamb, Debo, George Kittle, Dawson Knox, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Khalil Shakir. Now I just want to run through, see if I can remember the way we drafted it. We started at the 1-on-1 with Josh Allen. All the bills that we would want, which was basically Gabe Davis, was taken. So we took CD and Debo as NFC bringbacks. We followed that up by taking Nyheim Hines and Dawson Knox next.
Nope. Kittle Pollard. Pollard.
We took Kittle and Pollard next. And then we took Nyheim Hines and Dawson Knox to make sure that we got at least a double with Buffalo. We followed that up by going for our third set of NFC team with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And we finished the draft up with Khalil Shakir. So the game plan for this was 4 bills for our AFC exposure and 3 pairs of NFC teams to advance to the Super Bowl with them. One of the pairs.
Especially if Pollard is like a thing. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to take over, but like is just a useful running back. This team's really good.
Yeah, I think this is like, I mean, obviously if we could have got Gabe, it would have been a bit better. It would have like weakened one of our NFC teams because we wouldn't have gotten probably Debo. Probably would have been Gabe, CD or something like that. But this team is pretty solid. As long as the Eagles don't make the Super Bowl, I can't imagine any other team other than Dallas or San Fran getting there from the NFC, right?
Yep.
And if Buffalo gets there, this team's live as long as it gets through.
And if Seattle wins a game,
mm-hmm.
This helps it advance so much because clearly anything that I know Ken Walker is going to maybe do his thing in the playoffs, but like the passing game, we have the whole Seahawks passing game through 2 guys. So like I kind of, as we went through this draft, I was like, man, Seattle's really interesting. I know they could technically still miss the playoffs or whatever, but like if they make it and you get Metcalf and Lockett at this cheap price and just attach them on to your AFC stacks.
Yep.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, so that's gonna do it for this draft. I don't think we have time for another. It's later than expected
Yes.
already. So I have things to do tonight. You have things to do tonight. What do we want to tell the people about for the next week or so?
We're working on a bunch of stuff for good segue from the playoff. We're really focusing in on playoff best ball. Well, two things. The playoffs of regular season best ball are upcoming, and we're continuing to build out some things to help you understand your teams. Most importantly, sweat your teams. The whole point is to like have fun. Like, what teams do I have Kadarius Toney on? And then what teams do I have Cooper Kupp on? I want to be able to see that. We're continuing to build out some things to help you with that. But then we're also going to be coming up with a lot of playoff best ball content, of course, and tools and everything. So be on the lookout for that. If you're going to grind some of these drafts, we got you covered.
Yeah, we're going to be doing strategy videos, drafting. We might do some offline drafts so that there's not 75 badges in the draft with us, and we're getting a little bit more of a normal one. Although that one wasn't too bad in theory.
Just to answer, Carlos asked, do your tools work for the battle royales? Yes, they do. So if you're a premium subscriber, you obviously have access to the browser extension, so just like everything works for a bet, like your whole summer of best ball, it works for battle royales. It's literally the exact same thing. We have a page that you can see kind of a little bit separate from Draft IQ. It's kind of within the same HUD, if you will. But where you can see your exposure in Draft IQ, but also when you draft, if you draft from your browser, you'll be able to see your like exposure in real time to your battle royale drafts. So, you draft 50 battle royale teams, you get to the 48th one, you can see, oh man, I got 60% CD Lamb or whatever in real time. So all the tools work for the battle royales also.
Nice. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. We will be back, like we said, throughout this week. We'll be back at this time next week, 6 p.m., doing more fantasy best ball content, talking about everything. And we will catch you then. Peace.